Getting started on YouTube is actually pretty hard. I started my channel way back in 2017 and I had absolutely no idea what I was doing at the time. I just made videos about the stuff I enjoyed and I learned a lot along the way through lots of trial and error. Even the YouTubers you know who have millions of subscribers and millions of dollars in revenue, they all started from zero just like you. And so in this class, I'm going to teach you everything you need to know as a YouTube beginner to get started with kickstarting and growing your channel. In this lesson, I want to introduce the fake, sort of fake, not really fake YouTube channel, new YouTube channel that I'm going to be creating as a little follow along as we go through this entire process of starting YouTube as a complete beginner. And I've decided that through my niche exercise, you know, the things I care about, the things I might be good at, etc., that I want to make a YouTube channel called Ali's Kitchen. And I want to make it a cooking and food themed YouTube channel where I can combine the idea of home cooking with the idea of like doing things productively in like a small amount of time. I kind of liked Jamie Oliver's approach. He's like a UK chef to like 5-minute meals and 10-minute meals. And I want to kind of do something in that cooking genre. I am going to show what is the sort of market research process that I would be doing. Again, you don't have to do this. If you're just starting out, just make a YouTube account. You can skip this lesson and just move on to the next one where we'll follow along and create a new YouTube channel. Because I've spent lots of time on YouTube, and most of you have probably spent a lot of time on YouTube, you'll kind of know what are the channels in the genre that you're thinking about. But even if you don't, you can always just search. So I'm gonna say productive home cooking, and let's see what comes up. Oh, Pro Home Cooks, the home cooking survival guide for your busy week. Let's check out his channel.
So you've been 15-minute
this is nice.
Having those breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
This is good. I look at the channel and I'm immediately thinking, ooh, this guy is like a professional setup. He knows what he's doing. I've actually seen some of his videos before. I'm looking at videos and glancing through the thumbnails and I'm getting a feel of the vibe. It's all very colorful. He's got these nice like handwritten things. He's using yellow as a bit of an accent color. And I'm flicking through his channel, you know, I'm seeing, oh, how long has he been doing this YouTube thing for? 5 years, 6 years, 6 years, 6 years, my goodness, 7 years. He's been doing YouTube for a long time. And he's been doing this food stuff on YouTube for a long time. So this is a very interesting channel to me. His first video, Pumpkin Cinnabon School at 23. Herb, smoked, stuffed salmon and spicy bear. Braised ribs, grilling steak, beginner's homemade pizza 8 yeyears ago. This is all gonna have probably really janky production value as well because it was 8 years ago. Yeah, pretty janky production value. But actually, it's not even that bad.
It's very bad.
His editing is pretty reasonable. But if you compare his earlier videos to his current videos, like there's a significant, obviously huge change in what's going on. So Pro Home Cooks is an interesting channel that I am gonna be keeping in mind. Another one that I watch is Babish, Babish's Culinary Universe. Again, you look at the channel and immediately you think, okay, this is a professional setup, this guy knows what he's doing. And so I'm just like doing a little bit of market research to be like, okay, what are the sorts of channels that are in the space that I maybe want to be a little bit like? Not copying them, obviously, because there's no way I'm gonna be copying Babish or Pro Home Cooks, but just getting a feel of what the vibe of those channels is. Another one that I like is Pickup Limes, 3.7 million subscribers. You know, interesting channel art, probably not the direction that I want to go with mine, but like if we look at the thumbnails, oh, doesn't that look absolutely incredible? Okay, cool. Now this is like, if I was a beginner YouTuber and I was looking at these sorts of thumbnails, I'd be like, oh my God, this is like a level of pro that I'm not yet at. But that's okay, because it's like, you know, you look at the Van Goghs or like the pro artists of the world and you're like, there's no way I can do that. But it's fine, you kind of do a light version of it and you kind of work your way up. In fact, when I'm doing research on YouTube channels, I'll often sort them by oldest to be like, okay, what does a 3.7 million subscriber channel look like? And what did they look like when they first got started? So Sadia from Pickup Lines started 5 years ago. And these thumbnails are actually pretty, you know, they're reasonably aesthetic, but we can see, you know, some travel tips. They're not quite as nice as the thumbnails that she currently has. So this is interesting because this is a more doable style of thumbnail that I could choose to go in this direction if I wanted. Let's see what Babish was doing if we sort by oldest. Oh, look at this. 11 years ago, he made a bunch of random videos, but then he seems like he really started doing it properly 5 years ago. And actually it seems like his thumbnails 5 years ago are very similar to what they are now, and he was crushing it from day one. So maybe Babish is a bad example, but it just gives me some ideas of potential thumbnail styles as well. And then obviously I've actually watched a bunch of these channels before. So, you know, if you are going down the sort of taking YouTube seriously, market research approach, I'd recommend just like watching a ton of YouTube to see what is out there and where can you potentially fit within this market. But again, as always, don't use this as a source of procrastination. Don't use this as a way of overthinking what you're gonna do. It is just worth understanding what else is in that space, in the space that you potentially wanna go into. So like I said, I'm gonna be starting a cooking YouTube channel, and that's a thing that we're gonna be following along as we set up the channel, do the channel art, do all the stuff, film the first video, edit the first video, publish the first video. It's all gonna be based on me starting a cooking channel. All right, so other than just sort of the vibe of the channel and the thumbnails and the style, it is worth watching the videos as well to see what kind of vibe the videos are. this is all fairly simple stuff. Like, you're probably doing this already if you spend a lot of time on YouTube, and if you're not spending a lot of time on YouTube, you should spend a lot of time on YouTube. But let's look at a random video from Babish. Binging with Babish, how to make apple pie. I'm gonna speed up.
With a cinnamon TV classic pie. We're going to start off with 12.5 ounces of all-purpose flour that we're going to dump in the bowl of the food processor.
So this is actually very simple. It's a like voiceover over just like a single camera angle, it seems, and he's just talking through it. So I'm like, okay, this is doable.
Tablespoons of sugar and 1 teaspoon of salt. We're just going to pulse that quick to the combine before adding 2.5 sticks of cold cubed butter that we're also going to pulse until the mixture resembles wet sand, and then pour it into a bowl. Measure out 6 to 8 ounces of ice water that we're going to sprinkle over top and gently fold in using rubber spatula. Adding more is necessary until the shaggy dough forms. We're going to tenderly turn this out onto your work surface, pat it into a disc that we're going to liberally dust with flour rather than plastic.
Yeah, it's literally just a single camera angle and a voiceover and some music in the background. Okay, so I'm thinking, okay, this is the kind of vibe that is reasonable. I can see myself doing videos that are this sort of vibe, and it's okay to copy. I'm a beginner YouTuber. No one's watching me at this stage. I can just try and, like, the way I'm thinking of it is, what are the elements from other people's channels that I can steal like an artist, or I can copy from, and how can I combine those to make something interesting? Because, you know, Steve Jobs famously said, creativity is just combining ideas. And there's this other quote, which is that, you know, when people say something is original, it just means they don't know the sources involved. And if you just take an idea, a format from Babish, and then of speaking style from Peter McKinnon, and then a branding and thumbnail style from Pickup Limes, and then maybe add a dose of like Nathaniel Drew background music, it's those sorts of elements that you can take from different YouTube channels that combine to give a flavor of this new thing that you are creating. And so again, this is something that it's advice that I give to beginners who are thinking of taking it seriously from day one. Like, you know, do this market research and figure out what is your mood board. Like, what are the different elements you actually want to be taking from different channels out there, and how can you combine them to make something interesting? Let's look at Pro Home Cooks, the greatest home pizza ever. All right, so I'm just gonna flick through this video. Okay, so he's got a few different camera angles.
It says, and just wood fire pizza.
Yeah. Okay, there's a lot going on. It's kind of vloggy style. It looks like he's filming this with a phone.
The whole process. This had. The dough was a little bit too small. I probably could have doubled that.
So he's got like a front angle, he's got a side angle, he's got a handheld angle. He's really clearly got a very stocked kitchen. This is nowhere near the, you know, my level. Sorry, this is way beyond my level of, you know, cooking. But okay, just flicking through. And obviously if I was doing this in real life, I'd be spending probably a whole week just like watching YouTube channels that are in and around my niche or my potential niche or the things that I potentially want to do, so that I can get an idea and figure out what are these elements I want to steal that I can combine into my own little thing. So you can do that with a bunch of channels. Like, the reason I'm making Ali's Kitchen as the example channel for this class is because I've spent the last 6 months just watching tons of cooking videos because I genuinely do want to get into cooking. So I already have an existing interest in the thing. I've seen a bunch of YouTube videos about it, and so I think, you know what, let's try this out as a potential thing. And I'm thinking that my angle can be that productivity angle of like, how do I do these meals as quickly and efficiently as possible as a home cook with basically zero experience.
This is a class about podcasting, how to start, how to make your podcast, and how to publish and promote it. You probably heard a lot about podcasting recently, and don't worry, you're not missing the boat. This is a really, really good time to be getting into podcasting. Every year, more and more Americans are listening to podcasts every month. Every year, there are more and more podcasters, and there's more variety and a greater number of things to listen to. What excites me about podcasting is just how immediate and how personal it can be. There isn't a whole lot of equipment to get in the way of storytelling. There isn't a whole lot of setup time, and there isn't a whole lot to distract you from the business of just telling the story that you're telling. The technical barrier to podcasting has really never been lower. If you've ever shot a video on your phone and uploaded that to YouTube, you're more than prepared to make a podcast. In today's class, we're going to go through all the steps that you need to do to start your podcast. And that means ideation, recording, editing and mixing, distributing, and promoting the show. We'll be looking at audio examples of all of this to illustrate how different edits can give the same material a different feel, or how different setups can make your show feel different. And we're going to be doing all of that through the lens of your pilot episode. So if you've already got an idea for a podcast or some things jotted down, you can follow along and start building out a plan for your own show. I think podcasting is a really deep, temporal way of telling a story. It's a way of telling a story in a way that a lot of people will pay attention to for long periods of time. That's what gets me excited about the possibilities of storytelling within a podcast. I'm John Lagomarsino. I'm a podcaster and Anchor's head of production. I'm excited that you joined the class. Let's get started.
You have started to dive into AI. You're starting to understand how this thing works. You don't have to spend forever brainstorming ideas, crafting the perfect caption, thinking about the best call to action language. All you need to do is prepare a specific prompt that really guides the way. Let's say you are an artist. You have a new art collection coming out. You want to announce it on social media. You can provide a prompt that includes the key details about your collection, like the theme, the medium used, the colors that you incorporated, the vibe behind the collection, include the tone that you want to carry into it, and that will really help you get the heavy lifting out of the way when you have AI help you with the post. Even better, the post variations, because you can simply tweak them to make them yours. And not only will you have your post, or plural posts, variations, ready, but it'll have all the elements that you need: a catchy hook, an engaging description about the collection. It'll have people eager to check it out. And it can even add relevant hashtags to help you reach a wider audience. To create the most effective social media posts is to follow this power prompt. So your target audience, this is almost always going to show up. Who is this post intended for? What are their interests and demographics? And then your tone of voice. Is the post meant to be serious? Is it lighthearted? Is it inspiring? Is it informative? Knowing the tone of your post will help create the right voice for your brand. It will help you better tweak it to really make it yours on the output. Your call to action. So what do you want people to do after reading that post or seeing that post? Do you want them to visit your website? Do you want them to check out your collection, buy your art? Do you want them to add a comment to continue a discussion? Do you want them to share the post, And then keywords and hashtags that are relevant. That's going to increase the visibility of your post, searchability, things like that. You also include the post length. So how long should this thing be? If you say for like a Twitter post, then it automatically knows the character limit, so you don't actually have to look that up. It's pretty cool. But let's look at an example here. Okay, so let's say that I want to write a social media post about a new collection that I am releasing as an artist. So if I wanted to generate a truly effective post as close to my own voice as possible, I could input act as a mixed media artist releasing a new collection on Tuesday. So the mixed media artist is the role, and I'm being specific in when the release will be. I'm being clear on what it is that is happening, and I'm being specific with the target audience. Continuing on, your new collection features, these are going to be the key standout features: natural earth pigments that you foraged in nature yourself. The task here is to create a social media post, and then I am including with an earthy vibe, that's saying what kind of vibe I want this to feel like, relayed in a casual yet insightful tone. So there's the tone that embraces connection to each other and to the earth. So that is giving that specific context that I want woven into this post. And then I specify to use relevant hashtags for original artwork and earth pigments. So I'm not putting the hashtags in here, but I'm giving keywords so that they get included. And then I go on to say that the post will go onto Instagram, that is my format, 2 days before the launch. And I've already listed that the launch is Tuesday. And it should include a call to action. That's my call to action, to get people to sign up to be notified of an exclusive early release before you give access to the public. So that is giving a very specific objective and detail for this post. So let's plug this in and see what we get. Okay, let's take a look at this. I'm just going to change some things around. I'm going to, write what I would write with my own excitement and more details. But you can see how it really set up a nice framework. And that's what I was after, because sometimes I just go blank. So I am editing this to make it my own. Now, one of the things I want to mention here real quick is as I'm rewriting this, I'm seeing that some of my phrasing is repeated later. So one of the things that I like about Notion if you have Notion, is that it has an AI built into it, and you can do this in ChatGPT along with other ones, other AI, but I can highlight just this to have it reword it for me. So I can say ask AI, and then you can make shorter, make longer, simplify, and change the tone. You can also say improve writing. So it rewrote it as I believe that we all share a profound connection with the world surrounding us. Really what I need is world to be changed, which I doubt would happen in this, but I just wanted to share that as an example of another way that you can use AI to your benefit. Sometimes we just need help rephrasing things or cleaning up the way that our writing came out. So it does great at doing things like that. So you can see how providing this information will help ensure that your post is optimized.
You probably have so many questions about how to record great audio. It can be challenging to produce great audio when you're unfamiliar with how sound works. My name is Maddie Kenny, and I've been a musician and music producer for over 10 years. I continued producing even while training to become a doctor. Med school forced me to travel around often, so I had to get resourceful to figure out how to record crisp audio anywhere. Let's learn how to capture great audio. I follow a simple 3-step process. Prepare, test, then record. Let's start with prepare. Prepare is a mini checklist I run through before capturing audio. Similar to how surgeons do timeout before operating, we want to make sure everything is in order for a great recording. First, make sure your microphone is plugged into your camera or your laptop or your audio interface if you're using one of those. I can't count how many times in the past I've forgotten to turn on my microphone and had to redo an entire recording session. Next, make sure that your microphone is routed properly to your camera or computer. Double check to see that the input is coming from the correct microphone and not the internal computer or internal camera microphone. You might think that your mic sounds bad when in fact you're just recording with the wrong microphone. So a good way to check is to actually tap the microphone or snap your fingers in front of it, and you'll notice if the signal rises or not. Next is microphone placement. Depending on which type of polar pattern your microphone has, make sure you position it so that your voice will actually transmit signal to that microphone. In general, the closer you can get to the microphone, the better. There are multiple benefits to being closer. First, your voice will sound clearer, and you won't have to speak as loudly or unnaturally. Next, you can turn the preamp or gain of your microphone down so that it captures less of that background hiss or ambient noise in your environment. When setting up your mic placement, I recommend turning the gain of your microphones to be very low, so we can adjust this later in the test phase. If you plan to be really close to your microphone when recording, like doing podcasts or voiceovers, you'll likely get pops and spikes when pronouncing certain syllables. Hard P sounds like power, planet, pour over. These P sounds often release very loud spikes in a recording and can be really annoying to listen to. And there are a couple solutions by just adjusting the microphone placement that can help alleviate this problem. First, you can invest in something called a pop filter, which just sits in front of your microphone and catches and tames those hard P sounds. Another option is to just move the microphone a little bit to the side, maybe 45 degrees, so that the pressure waves of those P sounds don't blast directly into the microphone, but the polar pattern of the microphone still captures your audio. But what if your microphone is far from your mouth because you don't want it in your shot like I have here? Well, it's still best to get that microphone as close to your mouth as possible while still being out of the shot. In the case of me recording right now, my microphone is literally just outside of the frame of the shot. I can tap it right here. If it's gonna be outside of the frame of the shot, the best angle actually is to have your microphone pointed downwards, towards your mouth and to the floor. And this is because we can easily just put a rug or mat on the floor to absorb that sound. Having a microphone pointed upward below the camera, there's a lot more chance it'll reflect off the walls and off the ceilings and cause interference. And finally, if there are background noises that you can't remove from your environment, then try putting them behind your microphone if it's a cardioid shape. This helps reduce interference as much as possible. For example, I use a Godox light to light all my shots from this angle to capture a more cinematic lighting look. But when I turn it on, it has this steady humming hiss noise. So instead of putting my microphone on top of my camera or pointed in a way that's facing the light, I actually have my microphone positioned directly in front of the light, pointed the other way to prevent capturing any noise from it. Before you get into the zone for recording your audio, do a quick test recording. You You want to make sure that your input levels are appropriate, you're in the right position for that polar pattern of your microphone, the correct microphone is being recorded, and that there's no hissing or buzzing sound that's present. We definitely don't want to spend an hour filming or recording only to find that a very simple blunder like that ruined the entire session. So sometimes when we do a test recording, we'll notice a robotic buzzing or hissing sound coming from the microphone, and we won't know why. So here are a few common reasons why this could be happening. So first, a cable could be loose. So double check that all your cables are plugged in very well. Second, a cable could be damaged. So switch out your cable and see if that fixes the problem. Third, your USB or XLR port might be damaged. Ports can get damaged too, surprisingly. So try switching to different USB ports on your computer or different XLR ports on your audio interface and see if that resolves the problem. And the last thing is to just restart your computer or your camera. Sometimes the signal gets corrupt somewhere in the audio chain, and a simple reboot solves the issue. So when testing the microphone, we want to give ourselves headroom. What does that mean? Headroom refers to providing enough dynamic range and volume so our voice doesn't clip or distort. Distorted audio sounds absolutely awful. And this is why I recommend turning the preamp or input gain very low. That way, when you test in your recording device, whether that's your camera or a computer, make sure to turn your audio signal display on to visually see the audio levels. And as you test, slowly turn up the preamp until the audio signal hits around -12 dB. Hitting -12 dB should sit in the green range for most displays. We want to avoid any yellow or red spikes, as that means the audio is distorting or clipping. A general rule of thumb for me is that I want my microphone to hit -12 dB when I'm speaking naturally, when I'm speaking comfortably, and I don't have to strain my voice. Next, as you test, move your body around the microphone to figure out the best position to record in. I like to say aloud while I'm testing where I am in relationship to the microphone, so that when I listen to the test recording, I can identify which location is best. So for example, I might do something like this. This is a test. This is a test. I am now on the left side of my microphone. I'm on the left side. I'm moving back to the center of my microphone. Now I'm on the right side of my microphone. That way, when I play back the test recording, I'll know exactly how my microphone sounds from different positions based on that cardioid shape. Only after I get a good test recording will I actually start to record my audio. So let's talk about recording. As you record, here are a few tips to make sure your audio continues to sound great. Try not to move too much to prevent your voice from moving away from the polar pattern of the microphone. Speak comfortably and naturally to sound as authentic as possible, and also make sure you have room in your SD card if you're recording audio directly into your camera. Now, this may seem like a very tedious process, but being systematic and calculated with how we approach recording audio is the best way to prevent mistakes, retakes, and wasting a lot of time. Practice using this checklist every time until it becomes habitual, and you'll have a great recording every single time.